What's the last drug you did?
Oh man. Okay. No. What do we mean by drug? I mean, because
pot, nicotine, caffeine. Okay. I would answer with those.
Well, it was caffeine because I had a cup of coffee this morning. Mm-hmm. Well, I had several. I had a lot.
What's the biggest issue facing New Mexico right now?
I think we're trying to figure out. We've kind of been discovered, and whether that's good or bad is kind of yet to be seen. You know, it's kind of nice to always go to a place that's not discovered because, you know, things are quiet. It's kind of what we expect. You know, there's no struggle for traffic. There's no, you know, big crazy rise in house prices, all that stuff. But because we kind of are now, we're seeing the negative. I think a lot of the negative effects of it.
Like how it influences the state's identity? Like external
I mean, our identity, state identity, anything from local traffic to house prices to...
Oh, the prices,
you know, all that stuff. And like keeping our kind of New Mexico identity, both as locals and, you know, around the state.
What do you think is the most hidden part of New Mexico still?
I don't want to give it away.
Yeah, I don't want to give it away either. I've talked about it on the show before. Okay, last question in the trilogy that we ask every guest. If you could change one thing about this podcast, what would it be?
I don't know.
That's a very dramatic pause.
No, I'm thinking because I don't know. I want to know more about the show, the people, everything. I don't know. So that I can be better prepared, I guess. You know, I always feel like I'm never prepared enough for something, especially like different interviews and talks and things. And I listen to other podcasts like, what is it? Design Matters with Debbie Millman is one of my favorites. Yeah. And like she has these amazing zinger questions. And like she finds out the craziest thing about people from like fourth grade. And they're like, how'd you know about that? I almost forgot about that. And just like, and she does it like every week. It's like, how do you do all that and have a life? You know, and like have that depth. And like she's you know, an honest, warm person. And Debbie, if you're listening, I'm a huge fan. And you're amazing. Keep doing what you're doing.
She might hear this. I think she favorited one of my Instagram posts at one point.
So cool.
Yeah, way back.
Yes.
Or maybe I commented and she favorited my comment on her feed.
Channel that Debbie energy.
Yes,
send it out.
Debbie.
Send it.
We're speaking now directly to you.
She's one of those podcasts that came to me on the recommendation of a friend. That's a podcast file.
Okay.
So I trust
She's been
Debbie.
going for a long time.
Yeah, I listen to her every now and then for inspiration on how to develop as a host. Yeah, very cool. Lindsay, what's the last drug you did?
This question is hard for me. I had to give up caffeine recently, which is like, I'm reminded every day how much I hate that. So I think I'm pretty straight-laced at this point in my life. The last drug I did, I mean, had a cup of coffee like 2 months ago. That sucks. Whoa. That sucks. I know. Yeah. It sucks to say that. I'm like, melatonin, does that count? I'm an old lady now.
Well, you had something this morning.
I did?
When we were leaving.
Oh, that doesn't count. I drink
like, does it not?
Like chicory root now because I like the taste of coffee a lot, but
I think I've tried that.
It's like it's in like New Orleans, they'll mix it with coffee.
Okay.
But if you just drink it by itself, it's good. It has a taste like coffee. So it kind of just tells your brain like, hey, you like this. It tastes like coffee.
But it's even lighter than decaf by comparison. Like how
there's
it's
like
a cousin to coffee.
Yeah.
No, but also just like the richness. Or you don't have those complaints because you're living off it.
It's pretty you can get the kind that's like it's like almost like an instant coffee kind of mix, and it has the same consistency as coffee.
That's
it's
cool.
Like frothy.
Maybe I'll order some of that.
Which I'm into. So I know I sound so lame now. I like I don't know, melatonin and chicory root. Yeah, sugar always, but that's a different thing. So yeah, nothing too crazy.
What's the biggest issue facing New Mexico right now?
The biggest issue facing New Mexico right now. I think that there is a big struggle with the deep-rooted poverty culture that we have in New Mexico, like generations of it, and being ignored for such a long time. And then on top of it, we have this new, like Ryan was saying, kind of influx of like progressive thought and progressive arts and people coming from all over the place. And so there's this kind of tug of war, sort of. There's this deeply rooted culture that's been here forever. And we all, if we know New Mexico, we know that New Mexicans don't like change most of the time. And it's a very deep rooted generational thing. But then you have people coming here from like California, Texas. You have all of this new influx of people that are coming with all these ideas, and they're trying to kind of change things a little bit and get us up to speed, so to speak. So I think the struggle is really kind of, like Ryan was saying, another layer of maintaining our identity, and how do we kind of balance what we've been versus what we could be, and how do we also like maintain our authenticity.
Fascinating. I've had that thought before, and I mean you articulated it beautifully.
Oh, thanks.
What do you think about the high school dropout rate in that context?
It's really high. Actually, my husband, who's sitting over here, he's waving. He's a native New Mexican, but also he was a high school teacher before the pandemic at Highland High School, and that's huge. Like, I think I don't remember the specifics on Highland, but I think it was like they start with a huge class, and then by the time it's graduation, it's like some small tiny number of people that actually graduate. So I think, and then education itself like is a whole other issue in this state too. We're dealing with a teacher shortage and a substitute shortage, and education's never really been a priority. So I think that that's part of the problem.
If you could change one thing about this show, what would it be?
This show?
Yeah, Artists with Brian.
Oh,
yeah, I think Brian
show.
answered
all right.
What we're about to discuss. Yeah.
What would I change about this show? Nothing so far. I mean, it's been pretty inviting. I mean, you have donuts and coffee and like
cool.
water and tea. Like, this is the most welcomed we've been at a podcast ever. So I'm pretty stoked.
Awesome. You're listening to Artist with Brian. I'm Brian, here with
Ryan
and Lindsey.
Lindsey and Ryan are the hosts of the What's Up ABQ podcast. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Season 4 of Artists with Brian is brought to you by the short film Guapo. Sophia is a domineering wife, determined to protect her best friend from a dishonest fiancé, but she ruins everything. Free to stream on YouTube March 31st.
Which we will be doing.
Yes.
Oh, sweet. Subscribe to Fever Dream Films now. Get into the mix. Get notified. Watch Guapo, the bilingual short film, free. And I guess I'll just ask these questions to both of you as we go. We'll start with Lindsey this time, but then in the future we'll just jump in. Always the toughest question out of the break. Have either of you been to the Clown Dog since the interview?
Yes.
Oh, cool. How long? Like, how many times?
Actually, it was kind of funny because we did the interview, and then it was literally like 2 days later. I think it was like 2 days later. We were in Nob Hill, and we were like, we're kind of hungry. Oh, hey, let's go to Clown Dog. And so we did. And it was delicious, as always. Yeah,
that's cool.
Can't complain.
I found that I think I came across it as an Instagram post of yours first, and then when I saw the interview, I was like, that's the one I'm going to listen to. How about you? Have you been to Clown Dog?
So, funny story. I was literally going there for lunch, and then my work's website went down, and it was like World War III going on, and so I had to literally, like, there it goes as I drive by, not go.
Okay.
So
you came close.
I came close. I mean, it was like a sidewalk and traffic away.
Yeah.
And a down website.
It was a great episode. Brief, but like super potent. What number is that if people want to look into it?
It is number, gosh.
It's actually 100.
Is it really?
Yeah. I was, because I helped upload the newest episode a couple days ago.
Yeah, that's right. So, okay, so you're right. It is 100. Yeah. Gosh, that's wild.
I know. Season 5. Woo.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that. What are your guys' number one? You can only pick one favorite New Mexico podcasts.
Oh, Ryan, go ahead.
New Mexico podcast?
Yeah.
So I really like Dos Pequeños. I love paranormal stuff. Did I steal it from you?
Well, I have a backup though too,
okay,
so don't worry about it.
Right. Yeah, so I really like it because I love local paranormal stuff, but it's also nice because it's like comedy too. Okay. You know, so it's a nice toss up, but it's also local, and like, man, like when they talk about like their La Llorona story, like I live way down in the South Valley, like I'm 2 blocks away from one of the biggest secas, and like there's an elementary school down there, and literally one of the La Llorona stories happened at that, like right outside that elementary school by that, and it's like, I still hear local rumors about that story, and like I live 2 blocks away, and it's terrifying.
Well, I will totally fight you on that because Lorenzo grew up like 2 blocks from here, and he was 9 years old, and he heard about La Llorona in the Santa Fe River just over here. Okay. So,
well, she gets around.
I mean, yeah, I guess that's true. She could just travel.
So I really like it because it's not just like I enjoy paranormal stories, but when it's like local and I live down the street, or like. Quit talking about that. That's where I like to go camping.
Oh yeah,
like
it's personal.
Yeah, it's personal, and it's like I go there.
Yeah, very cool. Leroy Garcia, the owner of Blue Ink Gallery, brought up La Llorona on the podcast. I got to check out that episode then.
There you go.
And you like Dos Pequeños
I do
too?
like Dos Pequeños, but actually, I really like our friend Eric, who he is part of Dos Pequeños. Mm-hmm. He's one of the
co-ghosts.
He's a co-ghost with somebody else.
Oh, nice.
He has another podcast called True Consequences, and it's like a New Mexico true crime podcast. And his brother was murdered when he was a baby, and so he kind of has formed this podcast to highlight crime in New Mexico and then bring attention to cases that need more attention or need looking into.
Wow, has it worked yet?
Yeah.
So a case has been solved, or what? Oh, really?
Yeah.
Off the show.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's pretty crazy, and it's cool to watch his progress. Just it started with him wanting to like just do something out of like for justice for his brother, and then it just like evolved into this thing that's like
justice for lots of people.
Justice for lots of people, yeah.
And what's it called again? It's a play on Truth or Consequences.
True Consequences.
True Consequences.
Yeah. It's a great podcast.
Beautiful. You guys both knocked that one out of the park.
Huh.
What's your show's business model?
Okay, this is a funny story. So a couple of years ago,
what business model?
No. There is one though. So I moved back from Missouri a couple of years ago, and we're sitting in your backyard drinking beer, and
when I could have beer,
rip.
God,
more beer from me. And so we used to have a radio show together 10 years ago in Albuquerque.
Wow.
It was, and Lorenzo was on it too. It was called Speakeasy. And it was on this like AM Christian talk show that nobody listened to on Saturday nights. It was like underground,
Yeah.
So bad.
And so anyways, I moved back and she's like, hey, you want to start a podcast? I was like, yeah, sure. Why not? So when we were talking about like what to do and what we want to do, and we host it through Anchor, and there's ways to run ads on it and stuff. And it's like, hey, what are we gonna do with this money that we raise on here? Because it just kind of comes and goes. But she's like, okay, here's the deal. This is what's a ABQ's official business model. It is until we reach $1 million, or one of us dies.
That's the business plan.
And so the money's still there.
That's the plan.
Oh wait,
that's it.
Money's still where?
It's being held by Anchor.
Okay.
And like our when we log in.
And you'll withdraw when it hits $1 million,
or one of us dies.
One of us dies.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And revenue's not important to this situation.
No.
Very cool.
No, it comes and goes.
But you guys interview so many local businesses.
But we're not
There's
doing
like
it
this
for
opportunity.
money.
Yeah, you're not.
No,
we don't,
it's
because
not
it's not for fun.
It's for fun.
It's literally for fun, and if you make it for money, I think it kills it.
Well, we wanted to keep it genuine, and we wanted to highlight like the positive things happening in Albuquerque, because we all know Albuquerque gets a shit deal most of the time. It's like Breaking Bad and murder. And that was the funny thing is like you lived in Missouri, I lived in Oregon for a while. That's the first thing people say. It's like, oh yeah, Breaking Bad. Oh yeah, isn't that like a really like, isn't there like a lot of crime there? And you're like, well, I mean, okay, yeah, but also,
but we have that chip on our shoulder,
Yeah.
Like heck, like one time you were coming down like way down the valley where I lived to pick me up, and there was a bunch of cops, and like I'm pulling side of the road, and she's like, oh, they're probably looking at a dead body, and I was like, don't knock where I live. We got closer, they were taking selfies with a horse.
Oh yeah.
And it was like, this is the most innocent thing in the world.
Well, was it a dead horse?
No,
okay.
They were not eating a dead horse.
Yeah, no, they were not.
Yeah.
No, so I think the whole thing is like we wanted to just have it be about positivity and positive community, and like there's a lot of artists, there's a lot of good people doing good things in New Mexico, and most of the time we hear about all the bad things all the time, and so it's better if you have this like platform to be able to shine a light on people doing good things.
Well, and also like I just moved back. I hadn't lived here in 10 years. Town was completely different. Lindsay, I feel like you've always had this knack. Whenever I come visit, she's like, "Oh, I have to take you to this really cool place." And there's always like this like hole in the wall, super cool, divey place that nobody knows about.
Yeah.
And so I was like, "How do you find these places?" I don't know.
Is that bar you can play board games at still open? I've never been there, but I've heard of it sort of in this context. Like, hey, have you heard of that place?
There's a couple
There's a
board
couple.
game places.
Oh,
Actually,
there's
there's
more
a
than
couple.
one.
We have to think about
Yeah.
it because there's more than one.
There's like Etten Games just opened by my house actually, and
yeah,
they have like
they
a
moved.
whole like board game thing happening. I haven't been in there yet.
I haven't been in their new place. I've been in the old place.
There's a few places that are kind of, I think, slowly kind of rolling out.
Yeah,
now that
well,
COVID's sort
there's
of-
that place by Marble that by your house where they play test brand new games that haven't come out yet.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the one I heard about. That's a good
It might
story.
be.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah,
So
there's a few.
business is like an integral part of your show. So to you, it's an integral part of what makes Albuquerque beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that small businesses and like
Yeah.
independent businesses, there's a lot of chains out there, but I think New Mexico, again, we're like really gritty. We've kind of been passed by. We've kind of been ignored. So New Mexicans have this like survival mode
Mhm.
sort of thing going on. I don't even know how to describe it, but
Well, one of the people we interviewed, I forget who it was. They said two really good things about like business in New Mexico. They said one is that the best thing about New Mexico for business is that it's surrounded by New Mexico. Like it's Albuquerque surrounded by New Mexico. But,
Mhm.
and the next thing is that this is a place where you can try and fail and try again.
that's
yeah, that's
You
why
know.
I moved here.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. If I had to
Yeah.
distill it, that's it's as short as I could get it.
But I think that's true. Like people here aren't gonna like be like, oh well, you failed, tough
Mhm.
shit on you. Like you can try something, and if it doesn't work, you can modify it or make it better or make it different, and it's still gonna be okay. And if it works, great. And if it doesn't, fine, try again. This is a really great landscape for creativity and for being able to sort of dip your toes in different areas and see what works best and
Yeah.
not have to totally fall rock and hit rock bottom. So
Have you guys ever interviewed like a credit union loan officer?
no,
It's crossed
No,
my mind. I
we
kind of want to
we
do
have
this.
not.
We talked to somebody early on who was a mortgage guy.
Yeah, oh, that's right.
Like in the context of helping an artist get like
No,
a stable
he
housing.
was homes. Yeah, well, it was just he wasn't like for artists. It was just people. But
Mm.
yeah, I know.
I have a friend who brews beer, who made his own Adobe house. He
Oh,
just
nice.
bought a
Cool.
lot.
That's awesome.
He did the community college course. Want to interview him again in the context of like how to survive as an artist in Mexico. Maybe the way you go is you build like a 1 or 2 room Adobe.
I'm cool with that.
Sounds
I'm
good
down.
with me,
I feel
right?
like it could
Yeah.
happen here. I mean, we stayed. Well, Lorenzo and I stayed with some friends up in Taos in like an Earthship, and it like we were looking at like they have these courses where you can learn how to build your own like self-contained Earthship, and like you can do it.
I love airships.
Totally
if I found a
possible.
good deal, like the right location on one, I think I would buy
Well, like,
it immediately.
We don't know. You could try, see what happens. It's the kind of place where you can.
Oh, yeah,
You know?
word. Exactly. And you could always resell an airship
Yeah,
here.
whatever.
That's the
That's right.
beautiful
Yeah,
thing about the
whatever.
state. Have either of you been to jail?
I have not.
I have not, but almost.
Almost.
It's a yeah.
No, let's hear. Oh, I didn't know about this.
Yeah.
You don't have to tell it.
Oh, it's fine. I'm
Like
not-
the show's meta at turns. Like it's how you answer the question
Okay.
is your answer. You know.
No, it's actually kind of it's funny now. I can laugh about it now. So one time I was actually in Santa Fe with some friends. We were at an art show opening thing, like I don't know, 12 years ago maybe. It was a long time ago. And I was with my friend Erin and my friend Kate, and we had a few drinking, as one does. And Kate was the designated driver, so she was totally sober. She's very tiny, though. She's a very tiny person, very, very little. And we were driving back to Albuquerque. Well, she was driving. We were in the backseat. And we get pulled over. I think it was in, like, Santo Domingo, like, on the Pueblo. And it was probably, like, 1 a.m. I don't even remember. And the officer's like, "You've been drinking?" And I'm like, "Well, I have, but I'm not driving." He's like, "It smells like booze." I'm like, "It's me."
'Cause it does.
Fine. I'm not driving. So he gets Kate out of the car because she's driving, but she's very tiny. It's very windy.
Oh, no.
It's like gross outside. He's making her walk the line. And of course she's like trying to like stand up, and it's just like the weather's just bad, and she's just like blowing all over the place. And so for whatever reason, this officer decides that he's going to take her in. And so Erin and I are sitting there like, well, what are we supposed to do? And the guy's like, well, I can't give you a ride. You're going to have to call somebody. And we're like, bro, we're in the middle of like the Pueblo. It's like 1 a.m. Who's going to come and get us? Like, also, we're like 20-something-year-old girls out here in the middle of the night. Like, we're drinking a little bit. Like, this is super irresponsible. Like, you're just going to leave us here. And so finally he drove us to Bernalillo and dropped us off at the Denny's, and it was just like, he was just a dick, man.
That's
like
brutal.
It was terrible. So yeah, I was kind of.
So I don't know, staying in the Pueblo jail might not have been that bad. It would have been warm.
I mean, maybe, you know, I don't know.
Maybe they would have given you the car back the next morning.
Maybe running my mouth a little bit, but I was also just kind of like, this is ridiculous, you know.
I thought I was safe speeding on the Pueblos, like going back and forth from Albuquerque. It doesn't sound like it,
No,
though.
it's not.
It's not safe.
No, I used
They
to
are
work
patrolled.
in Santa Fe, and I'd start taking 14 because I didn't want to deal with I-25.
Wow.
Yeah, so I don't know. It was pretty dumb. He was upset with me because I was just like pushing back on the whole like, you're being irresponsible and you're supposed to be an officer of the law and you know, whatever. But you know,
you would never do that.
Never.
It's time for a little game
Okay.
called 3-Star Yelp Review.
Oh, sweet.
It's where I read a 3-star review of an Albuquerque business, and you've got to guess which business. Today, the category is a brunch spot in Albuquerque. Maybe half the town knows about it. If you're listening on YouTube, hit the subscribe. Smash the like button. Man, I wish I didn't write so small. If you know where we're talking about, leave it in the comments right now. Yeah, and if you're on Apple, 5 stars, thank you. This is coming from Deborah C. 8 months ago. Quote, waited in line outside for 20 minutes. Waited in line inside to only have people cut the line to go order. Did the restaurant personnel do anything? No. All caps. After the fact, offering a pastry doesn't cut it. Personnel has to set the order and make sure it's followed. Manager came and tried to make it right. We will keep an open mind. My food was definitely delicious.
Waited outside.
The first thing that comes to mind is Flying Star.
I will give you, Lindsay, some more information before you make your guess. 1,200 reviews, averaging 4.5 stars. I've been there as a Santa Fean once or twice. 4 stars for me for price and line. It's a brunch spot in Albuquerque.
So probably not Flying Star.
I know.
Yeah, I'll give you one more guess.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, the steaks. While you're thinking, we have 2 DVDs available. Fantastic Mr. Fox and Al Pacino Serpico. Have you seen either of these?
I've seen
Fantastic Mr. Fox.
Fantastic.
Oh, Serpico's awesome.
Okay.
It's an old movie, younger Al Pacino. So
Okay.
I buy my favorite movies on DVD and I give them out if you get the game right.
Well, didn't you tell me there were steaks?
I know,
I got
there's
right.
there's prizes.
Here I am running my mouth off.
I was just telling Lorenzo I'm super incentive driven, so this is like there's a lot writing on
So
this.
how about for the person who does get it right,
Okay.
assuming only one gets
'Cause
it,
there can be
I'll
only
let you
one?
choose the
Okay.
video.
Okay, I'm thinking about brunch, and I'm thinking about like brunch to me means like mimosas, like that's just like a thing. I don't know. I'm like, okay, mimosas.
With the line inside and out, it has staff. It has pastries.
Yeah.
Okay.
My first guess was gonna be Church Street Cafe, but I don't think that's it. I don't think that's it at all because their pastry game is not great.
It's true.
I hope I don't embarrass myself. I mean, 1,200 reviews. Could it all just be Yelpers from out of town? And this is just like a Santa Fe view?
If they're tourists, I mean, it could be.
It could be. I think it is. Here's the final hint. It's sort of a California menu.
I am so bad.
It's not like Wex or...
That's funny. Last guess, who hasn't aired yet, guessed Wex at first. The location is the Grove Cafe and Market.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes total sense.
It does make total sense?
Yeah, it does.
Cool.
I've only been there like once.
I don't think I've ever been there.
It's kind of an online dating place. That's the reason I've been there.
Okay.
Like a first Tinder date, probably. First
gotcha.
Bumble date. I don't know.
Okay.
No, but
I
that's
love
true.
you, Chrissy.
They do pastries, and they do have a line, and it's usually really long. Okay, yeah. No, makes total sense.
Bam.
Cool. So you don't win the movies today, but
bummer.
a future starving New Mexico artist will. What were you like in high school?
No, please. you
Oh,
first.
so I gotta go?
Oh, no, please.
Okay.
By all means. Why don't you tell some stories, Ryan?
I feel like I'm boring compared to you.
That's not true.
Oh, is not?
And then, yeah, where did you go to high school too? Like what state?
Oh, no. Well, we went here, and like we're all gonna get hate because
Well, I think you should clarify. So we're brother and sister.
Yeah.
So we.
Oh,
yeah.
wait. Yeah. Okay.
A lot of people.
I've been a bad host.
No,
Sorry,
it's
guys.
okay.
This has been told to me probably twice.
No, we've had times when we're like on podcasts.
We sit down and they stare at us.
Like stare at us like they're trying to figure out the dynamic and they can't. And I'm like, he's my brother. And
well, I was
like,
gonna. I on my mind was to compliment you on your rapport. You said you had hosted a radio show 10 years ago. I was like, oh, that's it. No, it's you grew up together.
Yeah, we know each other pretty well.
Yeah.
So. What were you like in high school, right?
Well, okay. First of all, we went to La Cueva High School.
Okay.
I know everybody judges, and I know when you want.
I went to 2 high schools. You only went to 1.
That's true. Okay. I was big into theater.
Shocking.
It's true. I know the hat gave it away, but in the glasses. Anyways, I was big into theater. I don't know. I used to drive around town in this beat up Thunderbird.
That sounds pretty cool.
I had it looked like it had racing stripes, but it was just because of the sun damage on the car.
It had gotten keyed perfectly
by the sun. I don't know. I feel like I was a prude, and I feel like I was a dork. And
do people even use that word anymore?
Well, I do. So
only prudes. I've made that
it.
joke. Yeah, exactly.
I feel like you're dating yourself a little.
Well, no. I'm old now, I guess, or something. I'll be 34 next month.
Ooh,
Ancient. No, I don't know. I feel like I was a prude. I feel like I tried to hang out with people, but I never got invited anywhere.
Yeah.
And I was always just like, well, I'm just gonna go to a coffee shop, I guess. I don't know. That was what I would do.
Let your sister in after curfew?
Oh yeah, no, I would do that because we used to my room was the second story over the garage front door, so I'd hear this little pebbles at 2 a.m.
Oh,
you know,
really?
and it was somebody that got locked out more than once, and so she'd have to pay me.
Well, he made money off this. He
great.
Came up with a system. He's like, well, if you want to get let in after curfew, that'll be $10.
Wow.
Which I paid.
And she paid.
So Lindsay was cooler. Was she also in drama?
I was, but it was it was like an elective. I never really
I was in the plays.
Yeah, no, I never.
Yeah.
I see. You on stage?
Well, in high school.
Yeah. Very cool.
I try out, and if I didn't get a part, I'd run sound.
Okay.
So I was always part
for every single
everything.
one. That's the key. Be there.
Yeah, and I was there no matter what part.
I think Seinfeld says that.
Oh,
80% of life is showing up. Yeah. If you're capable as well.
If
you got to be capable.
Yeah, because I don't want to walk in and I don't know unless I'm trying to.
Well, show up for practice, show up for homework, show up for preparation.
Yeah, no, yeah. I try to show up. I remember the first play I was in high school was Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Oh, nice.
And I got to play Charlie.
Really?
Yeah, I did. And I memorized all my lines in one night.
I feel like you can see it with the hat.
I know.
Yeah. How long ago did you last play Charlie? No, I'm sorry. I've been doing stand-up a lot.
It was a while.
My mind is just going to roast
in
jokes.
2006.
Yeah.
The setup's here, though. It's like the turtleneck and the hat. You set it up.
You did set it up.
It was warm. Today. It's cold outside. What do you want? Yeah, I don't know.
What advice would you give that version of you? How about the Charlie who got casted?
Cheer up, Charlie.
Oh my gosh, this is not the musical version. Thankfully, I can't sing, so I'd probably say loosen up, and I'd probably say I don't know, it sounds so hallmarky, but actually believe in yourself more. I feel like I wasn't quite at the point in my life where I could tell the powers that be to kind of fuck off, so I could be myself.
Mm-hmm.
I was still kind of figuring that out at the time,
Mm-hmm.
I was still, really young. But I think I would have been a more fuller person sooner if I had, I don't know, leaned on my own self-confidence a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Lindsay, do you feel called to that question, or do you want a random new one?
I can answer it.
Yeah.
So my high school experience is a little different than yours. We moved here when I was a junior. So we moved from Portland, Oregon to Albuquerque my junior year. So in Portland, I keep hitting the mic, I'm sorry. In Portland, I got pretty good grades. I was pretty straight-laced, played soccer, had a solid group of friends. I grew up in a pretty tight-knit community in Portland where we went to school with the same kids from kindergarten all the way through high school, and it was a small group of us, so we all kind of knew each other. And then when we moved here, I was so mad, like just pissed off, mad. You know, I was like 16, so you know, you take a 16-year-old girl away from her friends, it's kind of a crisis situation. Feels like it. So I kind of flipped the switch when I moved here, and I got really rebellious, like really fast. So here in high school, I did a lot of partying, did a lot of going out, sneaking out, other things.
Being let back in
For money, yeah.
Which you paid.
And I did pay. Yeah, so I was just kind of a different version than what I was in Portland here. And I think it was just more or less to like punish my parents. I didn't realize at the time, like, this might not be a good decision that I'm making, you know, but yeah, so I was pretty rebellious when I was in high school.
So it sounds like you were made to come to New Mexico, but you have both found a way to love it on your own terms. And that's the thesis of the show.
It's taken some time, but I definitely appreciate New Mexico for what it is now.
Yeah.
I feel like I was young enough when I moved that I think I made the transition easier.
Yeah, that might be true.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the first thing I did when I turned 18 was like, went back to Portland. And I was like, I'm going to Portland State and I'm never coming back.
And you'll never see me again. Oh.
And here we are making a podcast about New Mexico.
That's like a well-worn trail, Portland to Santa Fe and back again.
Oh, yeah.
Did you know that at the time?
I did not.
Oh, okay.
But I feel
Was it emerging just then? Is it now the thing?
You know, when we were up there during the pandemic, a lot of people were like, oh, Santa Fe, yeah, like that's so cool. That's like so desert, modern art. Blah. Like it's very much on people's radar, I think more so than it was.
It's kind of just like is it the wet and dry versions of the same town?
Kind of feels like it.
Kind of feels like it. Cool.
I feel like there's like this trifecta. It's like Santa Fe and like Austin and then Portland and maybe Nashville you could throw in there.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Asheville, North Carolina.
I feel like that could work too. I think there's certain cities that are very interchangeable with each other. And
yeah,
I
it's
think
just based on what climate you want, really. What food.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, you guys ask. No, Ryan asks the same two questions to every guest, and it
love
annoys Lindsay. So we'll start with Lindsay. First question, red or green?
So I'm learning to like red a lot more. My husband's from Santa Fe, so I feel like that's just like I'm evolving, I hope. He's like, right, okay. Yeah. No, but I usually default to green. However, when I'm in Santa Fe, I like to try the red. Whenever we're like out eating somewhere, I usually get the red here. Interesting.
Is that to judge, or it's more adventure? You're at a new place, so you double down. You also get the one you don't typically like.
It's a little bit of both. I think also it just makes me feel like I kind of understand like the culture that like Lorenzo grew up in.
Okay, northern New Mexican, you're saying. Is Albuquerque considered northern New Mexico, Lorenzo? It's the fence line. Yeah. Central.
Like if you get to Los Lunas, I think you're going.
You've gone too far.
You've gone too far.
Yeah, anywhere south of South Valley, southern New Mexico, eh? Okay. Cool. Wait, and then where do you go in Albuquerque for your chili?
For my chili, if it's red chili, I like Tomasitas, actually, the one in Albuquerque, but that makes sense. We were just talking about
How
this.
old is that? I just started hearing about it.
It's only like 2 years old.
Okay,
maybe.
That's why.
Yeah, and then the pandemic kind of slowed it down. But again, that's red chili from Santa Fe because they're a Santa Fe restaurant, you know. Green chili though,
I know my answers.
No, you know, I really actually Tia B's La Wafleria. I really like their green chili when they do like an eggs Benedict savory waffle and then they like smother it and it's.
Did you say Tia something?
Tia B's.
Tia B's.
La Wafleria, yeah.
Wow.
It's good stuff.
Okay, sounds like a hot tip.
It's good.
I go to Albuquerque every now and then, so I'll try these places.
Yeah, it's kind of by UNM.
It's kind of
by
Clown
Dog.
I love doing anything by UNM.
Yeah,
I'm gonna try Clown Dog for sure.
Super good.
Nice.
How about you, Ryan? Red or green?
I like. Okay, there's certain dishes where you need to have red. You know.
Okay.
But I like green on the side.
Auto Vada needs red.
I'm sorry.
What dishes need red?
Well, so you know, like Christmas time, like pozole.
Yeah.
It needs to be red chili.
Okay.
You know, like tamales needs to be red chili.
Okay.
With green chili, it'd be weird.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, and I like green chili, so.
It's good for a burger, huh?
Yeah, you know, like it depends on what it is, but typically I'm green on the side.
Okay, and where do you go for your chili in Albuquerque?
So 2 places. One of the big reasons I ask everybody these 2 questions is because I want to literally know. I haven't lived here in 10 years. I don't know where to go. Like, when you live in the Midwest, like, the gringo is strong, you know, and So, and it's true, you know, and you come back and you're like, I've been missing this, but I have no clue where to go. And so, hands down, I love the shop.
Okay.
That is a solid choice.
It's on Central. It's where that weird intersection is with Taco Bell, and like there's 3 different roads that come together.
Yeah.
But it's back in that. It's a little place. We interviewed them, and their eggs bennies is freaking the best in town, hands down. So good.
So eggs and
Gosh, darn
chili. Eggs and chili is a
I'm a
real
big
shout
breakfast
out.
guy.
Yeah.
The shop. Go to the shop.
The shop. Very cool.
And they're only breakfast and lunch, so you can't go for dinner.
That's cool.
So, but they're so good. And then the other place, everybody in the podcast would always talk about, you know, a couple of places that kind of typically service. Finally got to go to Cocina Azul, and it was good. It was really good. And everyone was like, typically, if there's a popular answer, that's probably like one of the top 3 that people say in town. So I finally went to the one on Mountain, and I stuffed my face.
These are all places I haven't heard of, but they're so intriguing. How do we bridge the cultural divide between the, 18 to 38-year-old artists or 18 to 48-year-old artists in these
Chili.
2 cities?
One table.
Chili.
Food.
Chili unifies
Food.
food.
Yeah,
So we're
food.
doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Restaurant recommendations.
Food and
back and forth.
conversation.
3-star Yelp reviews.
Well, we were just talking about, and maybe it was on the Clown Dog episode where food in New Mexico is a catalyst for like so many other things. Like, I feel like it all starts with like sitting down and having like a meal, and then that just like branches to like all of these other crazy ideas and projects and collaborations and everything else.
So the food trucks have been great for making that happen, because like you might, and you know, before that was a big thing. You could, if you sit around, it's not at a family or relative's house, you're going to a restaurant probably. But now you can go to a bar, you can go to a coffee shop, you can go to a park, anywhere, and there's going to be freaking amazing food that's right there.
I can't wait for spring.
Yeah.
It's going to be like, I don't know, not Woodstock, San Francisco in the 70s or something.
It'll be like that.
Summer of food love.
Yeah. The
Summer
first
food.
real
Summer of food.
post-COVID. I don't know what the right
Whatever.
It
word,
feels
but the
weird,
one
like, there's not
after
a
COVID.
term.
We're
Yeah.
still in it, but we're after it
Yeah.
too.
COVID's junior year.
So you guys have been in and out of New Mexico your entire life. What's your favorite New Mexico legend or myth? We brought up Llorona, so impress us if you've got another one, because that's kind of.
So I used to work at this camp outside of Las Vegas, New Mexico, called Up ABQ Christian Camp. It's a great place to rent a cabin if you get a chance. During the summer, they're busy, but like fall, winter, early spring, it's like 55 a night. It's you know, as much wood as you want to burn. It's up in the mountains.
Cool.
It's sweet. It's awesome. Don't steal my cabin, and because I go there to write. And so Hermit's Peak is right there, and so the hermit from Hermit's Peak is based off of a real person. I feel like he doesn't get as much recognition as I think he should.
Okay. Is he alive and living there right now?
No, it's from like the 1800s.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, he might be as a ghost. I don't know, but he was a noble. He killed his uncle in a duel in Italy, and for penance, he became like a wandering monk, and he started performing miracles for people in the New World, everything from Central America to Canada to parts of the U.S. He went on foot with a wagon train to New Mexico. He saw the mountain. It looked so weird. He decided to climb it, and then he lived up there.
Wow.
And so, like, the legend has it, like, on you can still see it when you climb up to the top of that mountain. The workers were building him a cabin because he would go down to the town and heal people. So they didn't have any water. So he took his staff and struck a rock, and a spring came out. And the spring's still up there, which is really cool. And you're way high up. So what is the spring doing up there? So Hermit of Hermit's Peak is my favorite.
Hermit of Hermit's Peak. Wonderful. Very good.
There's so many. There's two that kind of stick out to me, though. So I actually just finished reading a book about Julia Staub here in Santa Fe.
Huh.
Supposedly she haunts La Posada because that used to be her home. And we actually, it's funny because right before the show, we had some time to kill and we went to the old, like the cemetery.
Lindsay likes to walk around cemeteries.
I'm a weirdo. Yeah, I like to walk around cemeteries. I'm like a goth kid at heart, I guess.
Think
it's
about
in there
death
somewhere.
and stuff.
Yeah, think about
Wear
my own
black.
mortality. I don't know. But we saw her grave like right before we came here, which was super weird. And I was like, oh, that's random. But yeah, so like La Posada, like there was this whole story about her and kind of the history, and it's kind of become this like legendary sort of story about how she just died of a broken heart after her children passed away. And it's also just kind of wrapped in a little history, which I always like. You know, there's some verifiable history in there. So I think it's really cool. And it was written by her great-great-granddaughter. And I'm trying to remember the name of the book right now, and I can't. But her goal was to go find out more about her great-great-grandmother and find out what parts were true and like what parts were myth. And so it's this whole like book that she wrote about her discovering that. And then on top of it, you have like layered with like the ghost stories that people have told. So it's kind of cool.
Oh, neat.
Weren't they on Spooked?
I don't know.
I think they were.
Maybe. They might have been. I like Spooked. That's a good podcast.
Me too.
Is Spooked short for Dos Spookeños?
No,
that's a different podcast. Spooked is just, is it Wondery? I think it's Wondery.
Yeah, it's an outlier of like an NPR podcast.
Cool.
The narration is really good,
So
though.
good.
Just the guy's voice and just the storytelling, like that craft, the way he's just like made it's solid.
Never turn out the lights.
Right. The other thing I love, and this is just sort of like in my own life, is like, so I said like Lorenzo's from Santa Fe, and like coming from Oregon, like Oregon doesn't have a lot of quote unquote history yet. I mean, it's all like 150 years old, maybe. You know, you hear about the Oregon Trail, and that's pretty much it.
Interesting.
And then you have a couple of like old like fisherman's lore stories like on the Oregon coast, but like New Mexico has this like just deep history, and like Lorenzo's family, like he grew up 2 blocks away from here, and the property that he grew up on has been in his family for like a couple hundred years, and it's like people have lived there, died there, and it just gets passed over and over and over. And so to me, it's like the everyday common person, like that's actually a New Mexican. Like there's so much there. We tried to research his dad's side of the family, like Dominguez. And it's crazy because we found like in the historical records from like the conquistadors, like notations about people in his family, like this person counted all the cows on this day and then said it was fine and sent it back to Spain. And we were like, that is super cool that like colonization's not cool. Let me just back up.
What do you mean?
But like the fact that you have that much history about just your family going that far back that you can research is incredible to me.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. To me, it does seem like podcasting as oral history telling or oral history recording is really important right now. I'm glad it's booming at the local grassroots level.
For sure.
Very cool. Let's see. What's your favorite New Mexico day trip?
So I don't know about the favorite, but a favorite. I like going to Sky City.
Sky
Acoma
City?
Pueblo.
Acoma Pueblo.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good one.
And it's like 45 minutes away from Albuquerque. It's really not far. I mean, I don't know what they are with COVID, but it's one of the oldest continually inhabited settlements in North America.
Is that up against Wheeler Peak and Taos?
It's just it's not up in Taos. It's heading
you
west.
said 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought
heading
Taos
west.
Pueblo claimed that.
Well, they
So
got some
interesting.
competition.
They do. So west of Albuquerque by 45 minutes.
And you just go up the top, and there's still people living on top of this like 200-foot mesa.
Wow.
So like the Spanish like had to bring in cannons from Mexico City to conquer it because it was like a castle basically, you know. And there's still like cannonball holes.
They
and
invite
stuff.
visitors for tourist reasons, just like day
Yeah.
car parking.
Yeah, the
Very cool.
fry bread up there is amazing.
And maybe not with COVID, so call ahead.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it is right now, but I've been up there 2 or 3 times now.
That's
it's
cool.
Awesome.
Man, you guys are a wealth of information. It's so fun interviewing podcasters. It's like it's easy and fun.
Yeah.
Favorite New Mexico day trip, Lindsay?
I mean, it's a long drive. You'd probably want to spend the night. But Silver City is like this untapped spot. Yeah, like same like you. I don't want to give it away, but like they've got some good stuff going on. That whole area. It's like mini Santa Fe without the pretentiousness.
Interesting.
Sorry.
Well, it's got to be. Is it less Spanish and more mining? Isn't it an old silver mining town?
Yeah, it's kind of like an old Western style mining town.
Yeah, and it's like 10,000 people, not
Right.
80.
Right. It's smaller. It's way smaller.
It is small, but I believe it's liberal, fairly liberal as New Mexico goes, and it's an art's haven.
Yeah, there's like a ton of like galleries and little coffee shops and just artist spots that are like kind of off the beaten path. Is not really what you hear about. Like if you're looking for like tourism necessarily, you have the Faywood Hot Springs out that way, which is like a really fun spot to go. Like,
can you actually do that as a day trip from Albuquerque?
You can. I mean, you'd probably get back pretty late.
Yeah, so that's
how
a
many
nice.
hours is that? Like 4 hours.
Oh,
Yeah,
so I
you
guess
might want
you
to spend the
could.
night.
Yeah, from Santa Fe, it's a weekend trip.
Yeah, but it's totally worth it. And then you have the ruin. Is it Chocolate? No, what's the canyon?
Diablo.
Bandelier?
No. Gila. Is it Gila?
Gila Cliff Dwellings. Wow, my brain.
Gila Cliff Dwellings.
Yeah, and so you can. There's a lot to do. Like you can go see, you know, the they're kind of like petroglyph, like little pictures, and hike in some caves, and
It's kind of cool. So towns come up. Towns in New Mexico are kind of their own thing to go see. Spice of life. Every town's a little different.
Yeah.
Because they're about 2 hours apart.
And then the other one that is an actual day trip, like literally like maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours, is Bosque del Apache. Further south past Socorro, which is it's like a nature preserve. And we made the mistake. We went in like the summertime, and the guy was like, you should actually come back in January because all of the cranes like migrate here, and they're just everywhere.
They're all down at my house right now.
Really?
Yeah.
You live in like Los Lunas?
No, I live in the deep South Valley,
Okay.
Albuquerque. So like 5 more miles, I'm in Isleta. Like.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm like down there, like
You're
maybe
pretty-
2 miles from the river,
Cool.
on like a little farm. It's not mine, but
No, but it's a pretty good little. It is a little day trip, and you can do that, or you can do like the very large array. It's kind of the same area.
I've been there
It's sweet.
as a high school student.
I love that
Yeah,
place.
very cool.
Yeah.
KRQE Local News did a piece on you guys 2 years ago, the thesis of which was you want to air positive stories from the people of Albuquerque to change perceptions near and far about the city. How close is this to your own 2022 description of the show?
I think that's like the newsy version,
Yeah.
you know, because it's basically the same.
Yeah.
You know, I think maybe the tweak of that is you know, COVID. One of the things I've really enjoyed doing is, you know, we've continued our show throughout COVID more or less. I love asking people through the whole pandemic, you know, different stages, how are you making it and how are you going to continue to make it? You know, and some places that we've interviewed aren't around anymore, you know, so some of them didn't make it.
Yeah.
So this is like a very live issue. And I think from what I've heard from people we've talked to, people who are willing and able to adapt are the ones that make it and are making it.
So maybe this show's adapting right now.
Hope so.
I feel like that's a fair.
Do you think the mission is gonna be adapting through it too?
I think it already kind of has. Like, I mean, I think positivity was the thing that kind of started it, but I feel like we've kind of graduated to more of like, not just like positive news, but like maybe the news you haven't heard yet. Like, I want to kind of cover people that are doing things that you're not always hearing about them, or like they're not always in like Albuquerque the magazine. Sorry,
well, like we got to talk again to Peter Trevisani
Yeah.
during that big vote for the stadium, you know, and like it's one thing to hear a third party source about what he said, she said. You know?
Yeah. What's his position?
and the politics and all that.
I really enjoyed he's really down to earth both
Yeah.
times. I love to go to Sidetrack Brewery in Albuquerque. And
Okay.
He lives down the street.
Yeah.
Like he goes in for a beer. I see him every now and again.
So
No.
was he like the leader of one of the sides in the
Yeah.
stadium?
Yeah, because he's the owner of New Mexico United.
Oh, he's the owner, and
Yeah.
you got to talk with him at length, which is hot right now in the podcast community to try to get people that usually talk on script.
Yeah, exactly. And
So
it's
how
very
long
candid.
did it run?
The interview or
Yeah.
well, we
An
usually
hour?
do our show for 45 minutes to an hour.
So you
kinda.
got-
He was one of our first interviews when we started the podcast, and when our sound was terrible because air conditionings, and we had a really bad mic at the time. But he has been consistently like communicative with us, and the nice thing is that he is just a down to earth dude. I think he gets a lot of heat sometimes in the media. I think that sometimes, and I don't want to speak for him,
Yeah.
but like knowing him as an individual, I would say that he is probably not the person the media portrays him to be.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, podcasting's perfect for that. So he digs what you guys are doing.
He's, it's really funny because I reached out to him on a whim on Instagram and he just responded.
Like
and I was
personally.
like, do you want to be on a
Yeah.
podcast? He was like, yeah, when? So
It's
we did
amazing
it.
what Instagram can
Yeah.
do, isn't it?
Yeah.
Cool. So we'll go to the clay pot with just a collection of fan questions.
Cool.
We'll just if we'll do 1-2 punch for each of you if you feel so inspired to answer
it's
it.
a literal clay pot. I love this.
I love it. I know.
Yeah, that's the second clay thing I've made in my life, and the last.
Beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yeah, the glazing's pretty good, huh? This one comes from @designated_films on Instagram. In your art, what wastes the most time but has to be done?
Editing.
Hands down. And also, we had a learning curve early on. If you don't get it right the first time, you're going to pay for it for hours. It's editing.
Yeah. Up to this far, I don't think I have any edits in the podcast. Thank God.
There was a time where we
Because I used to do all the editing.
had the mic, and for whatever reason, our tech did not work, and it cut the interview like halfway through. It just stopped recording.
It
and
was
we didn't know.
Sawmill.
Oh,
It was,
yeah.
and that's
Well,
like
I'm
the
worried
one
about that. I think about the camera.
Yeah.
It was at Sawmill?
Yeah, it was at. We only got 7 minutes of a whole half of a conversation, and there's no way to.
And the guy was on like a super tight time schedule, and like we had to just
It's
scrap
gone.
it, and it
You'll
sucked.
never
It was
hear
just
it.
a waste
Just the
of everybody's time.
tragedies
Yeah,
of
it's gone.
podcasting. I'm technically backed up because that records audio at the same time. So
Don't jinx it.
I've sort of seen into my own future where I'm going to release an episode just with the
It'll
iPhone
happen.
audio.
It'll
But
happen.
yeah,
happen,
it'll
and it is what
happen, right?
it is. I mean,
Well, and now we typically have two things recording.
we'll do like a backup
Yeah,
mic.
it's
Just in
something.
case.
Yeah.
I think the other thing that, like learning curve wise, that takes a lot of time is scheduling sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Like just working with other people's schedule, because it's like Ryan has a job. I'm about to go back to work. Like some people are working and they can't drop their schedule just because you want to show up at their business.
Well, we learned early on, we don't chase people.
Yep.
If you want to be on the show, you will be on the show.
Yep.
But if you're like, oh
Amen.
well, and then you change,
they'll
it,
do the
like,
work if they want to show
Yeah.
up.
I'm not gonna
Agreed.
chase you.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're both in season 3.
I think so. Yeah, we're season.
But you're at
No, we're
episode
season
100.
5. We're season 5.
You're
now.
season 5.
We have a weird recording schedule. I
Yeah.
don't even know how we ended up that way. It's just a weird schedule.
We usually just say it's a new season at the start of a new year.
That's how when I take a break and start up again.
Yeah,
that's
that's
what I've
kinda
been
what we
doing.
figured.
I'm at episode 40, but you guys are at 100 plus.
It doesn't
101.
feel like
Yeah,
that.
so
now.
It doesn't feel
congratulations.
Yeah,
like
we just
that.
had a new one come out.
You'll be the top link in the description. Well, you don't have a YouTube channel, but your Instagram will be. So go click right now. Show them some love. This one comes from @FelixViolins on Instagram. What's your favorite food?
Ooh. All of it. Donuts, pizza.
I had a big change in my life a couple of years ago. I found out that due to extenuating long-term side effects that I didn't know about from a rare cancer I had when I was a kid,
Wow.
I am diabetic.
It's not heavy at all, Ryan.
It is heavy.
I'm just kidding.
It sucks because I love carbs.
Yeah.
I love pasta.
Okay.
I love angel hair pasta with like
All right,
some
Oprah.
kind of fight me. I don't care. Like
But it's still your favorite food, even though you're saying you can't eat it anymore.
I really, really, really shouldn't.
Yeah, and you
so-
like the angel hair because the surface area to volume is so high. You're getting the
It's
carb
so
rush.
delicious.
It's like
so
mainline.
good. And you know what? When you go from like you don't have to think about it and you just kind of eat, to having to think about it, the first, especially 2 weeks, it was like I was a vampire. Like I could eat, but I was never satisfied. And like that feeling that you just take for advantage when you eat a really good meal.
Oh yeah.
And you're like, that when you're diabetic, you don't get that because you get it from carbs.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the insulin, elevated insulin after a
And
good
it's
meal.
a glorious feeling, and never
I
take that
see.
for granted.
And you have to run stable levels of insulin.
And I have to not
not
indulge
spike.
myself. I have to have a little bit, but not what you should eat.
Yeah.
I think one of my favorite types of food is like Vietnamese. Honestly, that's something I could eat like every day and just not.
I just like a little mint,
Not get
carrot
tired.
garnish, some cilantro garnish.
There's a spot in Albuquerque that is.
Here we go.
I wonder if I know it. Yeah.
He took me there actually the first time we ever went, and it's like the best. So it's a Vietnamese restaurant on one side and a car emissions testing
Ooh.
building on the other
True
side.
Albuquerque.
I know it's in true Albuquerque form. It makes total sense. Even where it's located, it's like okay. What is it? It's Vietnam 2000.
Oh yeah.
And they're still my favorite. They're
Very cool.
solid despite the
Well,
building.
this episode is loaded with like local tips, so maybe I'm gonna have to. I'll actually just link to every business we
Do
shout
it.
out. To be fair,
It's a lot of tedious work.
Yeah.
Oh, I hit my face on camera.
It's okay. No
It's okay.
judgment here.
No judgment. Let's do one more fan question. Do you share your Netflix password, or are you sharing someone else's?
We used to share ours, but then we actually dropped Netflix. We just got it back, and I haven't reshared it with anybody.
You stingy bastard.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So you cut the people off.
I did.
Nice.
I think we do share. Because our friends, we trade.
Yeah.
Like they give us one of their like streaming services, and then we just like are like, hey, take our Netflix. So
That's the way to do it.
It's a new currency.
we don't have to buy the same thing over and over.
So that adds some texture to the lineage of that fan question. We've had a guest say he uses his mom's Netflix password, but I like this friend-to-friend swap.
Yeah.
This is a little fun. We'll go to a question from Santa Fe reporter, culture editor Alex DeVore. He was a guest on season 3.
Do you think
but you have to put your headphones
Oh,
on.
Oh, okay.
it's an artist's job to synthesize and express the terrible things?
Don't worry, it's
of the
playing
world?
out, so we'll be right on time when you.
Cool. My head is like.
All right.
There we go.
So for Lindsay, from Alex DeVore.
Do you think that it's an artist's job to synthesize and express the terrible things of the world?
Do I think? I don't think it's their job, but I think it's maybe a privilege that we have.
Interesting.
I don't think that you owe that to anybody, but I do think that art can express a lot of things that words can't. And so if that's your medium and that's something that you work well with, that you have the privilege of being able to kind of share that.
Privilege, but maybe not duty.
Right.
Okay, very good. And now for the fun, the big reveal for Ryan. He gets to hear the same question. I know.
That's a good question. That was a really good question.
Okay, Alex wanted to ask you this.
Do you think that it's an artist's job to synthesize and express the terrible things of the world?
So besides podcasting, I'm also an author.
Oh, cool.
I love writing fantasy. I have an agent, 17 different works out.
Wow.
A couple more coming out. I just need to get the covers done. So I'm a huge fan of Neil Gaiman.
Okay.
And something Neil Gaiman said that stuck with me, it's become my rallying cry as an artist, is make good art, period.
Okay.
That's what you're supposed to do as an artist, especially a fine artist.
Yeah.
Good, bad, ugly, in between. Is it good art? Make it.
Make it.
And it's just that simple.
Okay.
And it's just that hard.
It is that hard.
You know?
Yeah. Easy to say, hard to do.
Yeah.
Simple to learn, lifetime to master.
No, really. And you just keep doing it, Like, don't. I have another rule for myself. Once I publish a book, I never go back to the manuscript
Okay.
because I'm going to want to edit it. I'm always going to miss
that's so
things.
cool. I usually ask podcasters if they do other types of art.
Mm.
Lindsay, did I miss an art form that you do as well?
No, I mean, I do podcasting. Lorenzo and I have a podcast also kind of on the side that we do.
Parenting versus podcast.
It's called Parenting
Shout
versus
out.
Podcast. Yeah, we started doing that like for our kids, just like so they could have something to listen to when they're old enough and kind of have a record, if you will, of them growing up and us just like as we're in the thick of it. So that's kind of for them. And then, yeah, it's out there. People can listen to it too. We don't do it for anybody else really.
Yeah.
So
like
we do
a
that.
form of synthesis and reflection.
Mhm.
Parenting verse.
Like VS.
VS.
Yes.
Okay, beautiful.
Yeah.
Any other shout outs? This is the time of the show where I ask you what's the number one way my audience can help y'all?
If you like fantasy, I'm Ryan P. Freeman, ryanpfreeman.com. I don't know. Also, if you ever need help with consulting for podcasts or marketing, because I also do marketing, let me know. I've founded 2 different guilds. I'm a cancer survivor. I've been heavy with the St. Louis Writers Guild. If you just ever want to pick my brain about something, just reach out.
Beautiful. Maybe we can swap best practices on podcast marketing.
I'd love to.
Cool. How about you, Lindsay?
As far as helping us out, I mean, it's nice. It's always nice when people listen to What's Up ABQ, but also like, I think just hearing from other podcasters in New Mexico, like regardless of where you are, we had started the Bareilles Podcasters Guild before COVID, and it took a nosedive.
Oh, you
because
started
of COVID.
that.
Yeah.
I did some DMing with you guys.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh my
I don't
gosh.
know when. Maybe before COVID.
Okay.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, it took a nosedive during COVID, and we couldn't bring it back to life, which is a bummer.
I see. So this is an issue you're interested in.
Yeah,
Is,
I think it
I would drive down for like a meetup, a monthly thing.
Yeah.
I think, if we
a
could
lot of
just
people do and
get
didn't want to.
people together, it doesn't have to be a business. It doesn't have to make
No.
money. It doesn't
No,
have
no.
to do any of that. It doesn't have to have membership fees. I think that maybe we lost track during COVID.
The point is we have so much shared knowledge and
Right.
resources as
Yeah.
whatever art medium is, whether it's podcasting, whether it's writing, whatever it is. Like, that's what I found, helping to start, 2 different guilds, that being one of them. So we know so much, and maybe if you
as
don't,
a collective.
as a collective, and if you have a knowledge gap and you realize you do, man, find somebody who's good at that and just ask.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I'd like to meet like-minded individuals
Yeah,
because it's a
right.
rare overlap to want to like expose yourself this much.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I
yeah.
think also, the thing is, I can pretty much guarantee none of us started this to make money. This is not, you know what I mean? Like, this is not a financial thing for anybody. This is like a passion thing.
Yes.
So if you can get people together and just like share that passion and cultivate it in a community, which I think Albuquerque and Santa Fe and everywhere else in New Mexico is great for, like, why are we not doing that?
Yeah, I learned that personally from joining and going to the St. Louis Writers Guild for years when I lived in Missouri. I don't think I could have written my books or grown as an artist without regularly being in that room full of amazingly talented, knowledgeable people.
I see. And this was like a postgraduate thing, just a
I did for
community.
fun. No,
The guild is a what? It's just an extracurricular club.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
it's the oldest in Missouri. It's like Tennessee Williams went to it. Like,
Wow.
yeah, like
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ben Franklin did a thing called the Junta, which was just like a learning group, kind of
Yeah.
like a collective where you just showed up and shared what you're thinking about.
pretty much.
And obviously there were some legends there,
Well, yeah,
just by coincidence.
I loved because I founded the Hannibal Writers Guild. They do it down at the St. Louis Writers Guild too, and it's who pitched this week, who got a rejection this week, and you clap at each one.
That's really cool.
And then
yeah,
who got a signing, and you might get a couple of hands, and you clap at that too.
very good. Well, on this note, I'll ask you the last question before we go. If there's a New Mexican out there who wants to start a podcast of his or their own, what advice would you give them before they start?
I've been going first too much.
Pull your resources and see what you have, and then see like what you don't have and talk to people. But don't let what you don't have discourage you.
Okay, and resources can be like enough guests if it's the topic,
Right.
enough early connections to get like 5 episodes to launch.
Yeah, and you have to be committed. I think that's the other thing is like you have to really commit because it does take time, and like you can be really excited and really gung-ho for like a month, and then you're like, oh, this is a lot of work. So commit yourself to X amount of episodes. Maybe even start doing them before you start putting them out so that you have some in the bank to give yourself some time. Just pace yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but just do it. I mean, just go for it. It doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be tedious. It doesn't have to be scary. There's people that will help you. We're happy to help you,
Cool.
So.
Wait. Assess, act, and react.
There it
says
is.
Lindsay. How about you, Ryan?
So a couple of things.
Way easier.
Yeah. A couple of things. Whether you're making a podcast or you're writing, whatever, people are like, I wonder if people would like this. Like,
Who cares?
make it, write it. Who cares?
Yeah.
Like, if people like it, it's going to get traction, and that's how you know.
Well, that's what's cool is you just need to connect with the audience. It's the internet. You're gonna there's in any niche
There's
they're
somebody
out there.
always.
Yeah.
And if you're consistent enough.
Consistency. Yeah.
Yeah. No, really, I
I've
think it's a
struggled.
big thing. Like, we don't always do it, but we try to put out an episode a week.
Yeah.
And we found that, again, background in marketing, it's consistency over time to an audience that wants to know more about whatever that is. And there's an audience out there just for just about anything,
Mm-hmm.
And I think the other thing that I would offer that I meant to say, but I forgot, was you don't know until you ask. And that goes for like guests or like resources. There have been so many times that I've just like thrown out a message to somebody and been like, they're never going to call me back. They're never going to respond. They're like, yeah, totally. And then you're like talking to them like 3 days later. So you never know.
Finding a way to like not be shy to whether it's digitally or it's in person, to ask people about things. Like, was it we were driving up here and for fun, I was like, hey Lorenzo, like, who's the most famous person you think you've ever actually been able to talk to on social media? And we were talking, and so for him, one of them was he loves MXPX. Shout out MXPX.
Oh yeah, I had a CD.
Yeah.
Responsibility. What's that?
Yeah,
What
right.
is it?
Not quite yet.
Yeah.
And so, like, for me, I actually got what's his name, a director of the first Avengers, and Neil Gaiman were talking to each other, and I just cheekily jumped into the conversation on Twitter.
Oh yeah.
And I got them to respond to me.
Very good.
And I responded with the GIF. They famously talk to me. Because I'm a giant dork. And but for anybody, like, if you want to talk to somebody, figure out a way to do it, and just do it. And if they respond, cool. And if they're not, shrug it off.
Keep it on.
Keep it on.
Yeah. Just be polite. Keep asking.
Be candid.
You'll
think
get no's.
Show
You'll
up at
get
their house.
yes.
Knock on their windows. If you
binoculars.
Yeah, I learned not to take any no too seriously because even if I have whatever is the best episode of the archive, I still have to keep going indefinitely.
Yeah.
It's like a
there is no
never-ending
as
radio show.
The top of the
the
mountain.
peak. No.
No, you don't. Yeah.
There is no top.
It's a constant flow of episodes.
Definitely.
I
Very
think you can
cool.
always learn something from everybody you talk to.
Yeah, I think the other last thing about if you're going to start a podcast is
The last thing.
the last. I mean, there's always the last thing, but like you said, think about the time it takes, because it really does take time. I help consult with a lot of new authors to help get them published, and one of the big things that I've seen over and over again is you think that, you write your book or you do a couple episodes and you're done. You're not. Stephen King has an excellent book called On Writing.
Yeah.
And in it he says, he says a lot, but one of them is your best PR is your next book. So your best podcast episode is your next one.
Mm-hmm.
Not this one, the next one.
Love it.
So keep doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very cool. Thank you both for coming.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
That was
awesome.
amazing. Thank you for tuning in.
This is super fun.
If this video gets to 100 likes, I'll interview
Neil Gaiman.
Ryan about your science fiction archive.
Fantasy.
Well, sorry, fantasy.
I'll fight
You wrote a sci-fi.
There's a big
and I
difference.
hate it and don't buy it. That's a whole other story.
So jump a like. Let's get this to
Okay.
100.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Cool. Ciao, everybody. Thank you guys. That was
Yeah.
awesome.
That's really fun. I know. I'm like, there's games. I like
Right?
it.
That's
There's so much
great.
structure. We're just so
we're just
by the
like,
seat of our
hey.
pants.
What do you think about that thing over